time to abandon ship.
Oh no!
Here we go!
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Right! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod and another episode that we have for you this week, all about Star Wars. That's right. It's a Star Wars podcast. So, we are talking about Star Wars board games, a retrospective look at some of the classics out there, some of the board games that you can buy today. We're talking about some Skeleton Crew trailer details, as well as some headlines like Simon Kinberg starting up a Star Wars trilogy, Ahsoka tells the Jedi first brother, and news that came out due to a book. We got some stuff to talk about there. And Lego stuff for all you Christmas buyers out there. Might be interesting to stay tuned for that. So we got Kirk, our co-host, and as well as Blake joining us, our other co-host joining us this week on the show. So let's dive in with Kirk, and then Blake will be joining us soon after. Let's do it.
Another happy landing.
What are you in for? What are you in for?
I found something buried in the woods.
Dad.
This is unacceptable. Do you understand?
What do you think it is? Don't touch anything.
What did you do?
We're lost. Really lost. Stay together. We just need some directions home.
Come on, kid. Pay up. Whoa!
Where'd you two find an old Republic credit?
Over here, quick. I'll get you home. We'll make a partnership.
But we have to move fast.
I need you to take the controls.
Okay.
Neil?
Neil?
A crew of murderous pirates is coming.
Something's wrong.
They're not going to just turn up. We need to find them.
We're not alone down here.
Be warned of booby traps. Pirates and mountains where none dare to go.
If you hear this, don't give up. No matter what.
All right, welcome back, Kirk.
Hello there. It is good to be back.
It is good to have you back. This week is the first week that you have watched this particular Skeleton Crew trailer. So what's your thoughts on it?
Oh, wow. I mean, I literally watched it for the first time. I saw the first trailer when it came out, but then I completely forgot about the show and just watched it recently. You know, it looks good. It looks good. However, if you didn't put a Star Wars logo on the end of it, I would have had no idea it was a Star Wars trailer. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we don't know. We'll have to wait and watch.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot of the music threw a lot of people off, but you know, honestly, I'm kind of digging it. Like I'm glad it's just, you know, it's not some songs that we've heard in Star Wars. You know, no song names mentioned. What's that one called?
You know, it's good just to get something totally
2 for 1 special.
What are you talking about? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Wait,
Yeah.
are you talking about Life Day?
No, not Life Day. No. It's the song called. I'm just gonna call it 2 for 1 special.
Oh, the power of one and the power. yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Power of
No,
one.
that was an all-time banger. You cannot beat that.
2 for 1 special.
I actually heard that Hans Zimmer and John Williams have announced their retirement because they just couldn't compete with such overture.
Yeah.
Such grandeur.
Yeah,
that's the soundtrack and
song got a lot of
score.
Song, yeah, I like some of the songs that have come out with the Star Wars like canon have been interesting to say the least. There has been a few that have been kind of like they're not exactly like headbanger songs or anything like that. Like there was one in Solo which there was that little alien guy in the jar and he was singing. I think it's called like Chicken in a Pot or something is what the song is actually called, that Chicken Pot or something. Anyway, it's like it's not a good song, like, but at least it kind of fits the environment because it's a song that they're playing in the scene, right? And so I do
my favorite song that is like not a soundtrack that's come out recently is the bar music that's played on the planet of Neamos when in Andor when you kind of just first see Andor after he's I think escaped maybe, or no, he hasn't escaped, something happened I think early in the season, and then there's like that really cool Tropicana kind of music and then it's playing in the bar. That's a good time. That's a good time. I think it's a very highly viewed YouTube video as well, the Neamos sound, the Neamos song, Neamos theme, that's what it's called.
Is it in the first half of the show?
Morlana Club Mix.
Oh yes, Morlana Club Mix. Okay, let me play that. Hold on a second. Here's Chicken in the Pot from Solo. It's very like in universe, you know what I mean? It's not something I would rock out to in my car. And here's the Neamos song. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I like this one. This one's good.
Yeah, this is a jam. This is my go-to shower song now.
I'm adding this to my like songs. It kind of feels very Daft Punky, like a Tron Legacy or something like that, you know?
Yeah, I remember listening when I was watching the show. It's like, wow, I want to go to the Miami of Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, this is great.
Some of the comments are kind of funny on that YouTube video, but I won't say them on the pod. I'll leave you to read them.
Yeah, it reminds me of. I think it reminds me. Is it this one? Is it Recognizer from Tron Legacy? I think. Oh no.
Oh yeah. You know what?
Maybe
people say like the key for a successful retirement is to have a nice sports car driving along the beach. Well, I disagree. I think a key to successful retirement is listening to this Neamos theme and then having a glass of blue milk on the beaches of Pabu. That's where life is at when there's no tsunami.
Yeah, that's feels good. Is it? I think it's this one. No, is it this one? Maybe it's this one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's that one. What's this one? Rectifier or no? Discwords. Clue. Oh man, there's so many good songs on that soundtrack. Yeah, there's one where they go into that bar in Tron Legacy. It has the same kind of general vibe about it. But anyway, so what are your thoughts about the a group of kids? Obviously there's Old Republic credits, which don't look like the Clone Wars Republic credits. So it's probably is like actual Old Republic. KOTOR era level stuff. But seems to be the center point of pirates chasing down a bunch of kids who, get caught up on a space station somewhere. They're buying lunch and all of a sudden their day goes wrong and probably spirals into this greater adventure. So What are your thoughts on this particular, plot that they're teasing here, and just overall, like, the idea of watching this genre, in a Star Wars show?
You know what? It's just so different, and it's not tied to anything at all. Like the Acolyte was tied to many things. So was Mando and all the other shows that have come before and after it. This is just totally fresh. It's got the Star Wars brand on it, so that's going to help it get a few views to start off with. But I'm, with Acolyte, I was cautiously optimistic, but this one I'm just optimistic. So I think we're in for a bit of a treat. I think it's nice to bit of a change of pace. And now also I feel like a lot of people that grew up with Star Wars, especially the prequels, they all have kids now and stuff. Young kids. So it might be a great show to introduce to those kids. Apart from Young Jedi Adventurers, which I know is your favorite. This should be a good time.
Yeah,
I feel like if I was a kid and I was like, I don't know, it's like 8 to 10 years old, and I was watching this show, I feel like I would have wanted to be one of these guys going throughout the galaxy. So it looks good.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll be a fun show. Just like what it has to offer, and I feel like it's a good opportunity to put in so many like little Easter eggs and cameos of different things, being kind of the genre that it is. The thing is, like, I'm going in with low expectations on this. I had high expectations for a show like The Acolyte because it is the first of its era, really kicking off the High Republic era to viewers of the live action stuff, right? And I think that's where it had a lot of weight on the shoulders, whereas this show is taking place in that time frame of all these other successful shows, 3 seasons of The Mandalorian, and, we got Ahsoka in there, we got Book of Boba Fett in there, like so much happening in this time period, and Skeleton Crew is just kind of the next thing. So I feel like it doesn't really have a lot of pressure to get the politics right, to get the real core Star Wars war aspect right. Like, it doesn't really need to focus on all that. And I think that's where some of this pressure kind of like is removed, right? Whereas The Acolyte, really, the Jedi are at the core, definitely features some politics in there with the Senate. And I don't know. I mean, I think like what people were expecting, it may have not necessarily been what they were expecting. And I think this show is sort of like, like the pressure's off kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a fresh start. There's nothing for it to be compared to. I think, actually, outside of the Star Wars franchise, like there's obviously a lot for it to be compared to. Stranger Things is kind of like the one thing that keeps coming to mind.
Right.
But I loved Ghostbusters Afterlife. That was pretty recent. A bunch of kids in that show going on an adventure.
Yeah.
So I guess what's always interesting, like if this show takes off, it'd be interesting just to see how like the actors and obviously the kids grow up over the next like 5-10 years if they continue doing different seasons of the show. I think this is another interesting way Lucasfilm is just trying to try some different things while we wait until 2026, the next big movie comes out. And I think, I'm not sure if I've said it on the podcast in the past, but I'd love to see just like a Star Wars story that has absolutely nothing to do with the main line of stories, like i.e. like it could be about a restaurant owner on Canto Bight or like on Coruscant or something. So this is kind of like the closest we can get to it at this stage. It has no relevance to anything else at this stage, but right. I don't know, maybe I'm setting myself up to disappointment. Who knows? Maybe it'll end up being tied in with Luke Skywalker or something. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. Thanks for the 2 cents on that. We're gonna pull in Blake because we see him docking at the ship. There he is now. All right, hello Blake, welcome back. Oh wait,
hello. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, thanks. I was out there a while. It was getting cold out there. I was running out of air.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna be just left in the vacuum.
Oh man.
Don't forget to close the door.
Oh yeah. There we go. Thank you, sir.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are 2 of them, co-hosts.
Yeah, we got the outdoor blast shield, the inside blast shield, all the doors.
Tertiary blast shield.
I was looking at some YouTube shorts, just a little extra tidbit to ask you guys. I was looking at some YouTube shorts recently because who doesn't these days? And there was this one that came up which was probably older at this point, but I feel like maybe a good chunk of our viewers probably haven't listened to it, or maybe you guys haven't seen it. Maybe you have. Who knows? This is a little YouTube short with Sam Witwer. He has a discussion with somebody, and they were talking about the best way to watch the Star Wars films and the shows. And I'm bringing this up
now with all of the current Star Wars media.
Yeah. Well, so this was a few years ago, but it still can apply to certain demographics, certain people, especially with younger kids. And I bring this up because of what Kirk said, because of Skeleton Crew coming out, targeting a younger audience, and also just in general, with Star Wars fans out there who are, having kids, getting to this age of maybe you want to introduce your kid to Star Wars, right? And maybe Skeleton Crew is not where you want to start. Maybe you want to start with an animated show. And this is kind of where this shorts came in. And I just thought the details he provided on why this makes sense as well to some people who want to start with this particular way to do things. I can actually see a benefit in doing this. So here, let me just play this clip.
Here's my theory. I think you start with Clone Wars. And you don't have to start with all of it, just a lot of it. For kids, start with the Clone Wars.
Right.
Get them used to what that world is, and more importantly, get them used to who Anakin Skywalker is. And then if you show them episode 4, and Obi-Wan's like, Darth Vader killed your father, Anakin Skywalker, and all this stuff, and then the kids are gunning for Darth Vader. But they hadn't made the connection yet. And so long as you don't show them the prequels before that, they won't make that connection yet. So then when you go to episode 5, you get I Am Your Father, and then the kids are mind blown, even more than you and me were mind blown, because they liked the guy, they mourned his loss, they went after the guy that killed him to find out that that's the same guy. And then that's mind blowing for them. And then once you hit episode 5, then show them the prequels.
Anyway, so that was just kind of one more extra viewing order that you could throw in there for younger viewers specifically who you want to start on an animated show and work their way up into live action. I thought that was a cool way to do it because I'm a big Clone Wars guy, as you know, and I was like, yeah, I'm a big supporter of that.
This is a spin on the machete order. So are you now in favor of the machete order?
No, the machete order is a very specific never watch Phantom Menace order. I hate that machete order. I
ignore that part. But
that's not the machete order. There's a different
4, 5, then prequels and that. So all you're doing is really introducing Clone Wars first, the animated series.
Yeah, there's a name for that order, but the machete order is specifically called machete because it chops, because it cuts out, like a machete knife, right? Like it cuts out the Phantom Menace, right?
I thought it was invented by Machete.
No. But now that he's in a Star Wars show,
that's true.
He should probably take ownership of that.
He should.
Why does it cut out the Phantom Menace? I don't understand.
The machete order was a viewing order derived
cutting out
Jar Jar Binks from somebody's experience watching Star Wars movies for the first time. I personally think it's the most ridiculous viewing order out there because I love the Phantom Menace.
But how do you watch episode 2 and 3? Because Jar Jar's in there.
I'll go through the list of viewing orders. So first there's theatrical. So that's just basically in order of theatrical release. So that's 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, Rogue One, 8, Solo, Rise of Skywalker. And then, that's theatrical view. Then there's chronological view, which I'm kind of the biggest advocate for. So that's 1, 2, 3, Solo, Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then there's the machete order, which is 4, 5, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then at the very end, they've thrown in 1 Solo and Rogue One as optional, but that's an updated machete order. But originally, machete order just chopped it out entirely, and that was invented before the sequels even existed. Then there's the Disney narrative timeline, which is like everything. if you happen to watch, that's everything with the live action and animated shows in chronological order. So there's also a they throw in a little bone for all the old fans out there. The Star Wars vintage lineup where you throw in the Ewok Adventures
and the Gandhi cartoons.
Yeah, you watch Caravan of Courage, Ewok Adventures, the animated Star Wars droids, and then the micro Clone Wars series. Anyway, so those are some of the different viewing orders, but so there's no name for the one that Sam Witwer gave, but I do like how he considers the idea that, hey, there's young kids out there, they might not want to start with a live action film, right? Like they might not be old enough to really appreciate it for what it's worth. They might really only be into animated 20-minute episodes here and there.
Right.
And it's a good way to get to know the core characters, you know, unlike some of the other animated shows which jump around or feature characters that aren't in the movies.
And the movies are like for a little bit older audiences, like people do die in them.
Yeah.
So you're not going to necessarily see a 4-year-old watching it. Maybe
Right.
closer to 10. Like,
yeah. And like what's so good about Clone Wars is it does it does feature a lot of those characters like Darth Maul, like Dooku, Grievous, Ventress, Palpatine. You know, it features these characters that you see in the movies.
Boy,
right?
they're going to be really confused if they watch Phantom Menace, Darth Maul get cut in half after that.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? Like, however you watch Star Wars, in whatever order you like to watch them, if you're showing somebody in that particular order, there's always going to be a spoiled surprise to some degree, right? So even in the order that Sam Witwer is talking about, you still spoil the surprise of Anakin's downfall. Whereas, like, if you do it the chronological way, it's this story of a...
No, I don't think so, because you're seeing the downfall as he's already Darth Vader, which is more of a reveal, I think.
Well, to somebody who's never seen the films, right? Like, when you start with episode 1, it's this story of him transitioning into this Sith Lord. It's a very shocking movie, episode 3, right? Like, yeah, you see him get angry in episode 2, but you never really think ahead to, oh, could he ever do something that bad, right? If you don't really know what's coming, right? You know, to somebody who knows anything a little about Star Wars, they might make the connection. But to somebody who's a clean slate, you know, they wouldn't see it coming. And you ruin the surprise of that transition of this chosen one becoming, you know, like this, the villain of the galaxy. Whereas if you watch it the other way around, then you spoil, you know, if you watch it in that order, then you do the Luke reveal surprise. That one gets ruined. I think that's
ruined. Vader reveal.
The Vader Luke father reveal, that one gets spoiled because the viewer knows. But if you do it the other way around, then the Anakin turning into Vader gets spoiled because then you know
I think
he is
I
Luke's
personally
father,
think the
right?
Vader as the father reveal is a bigger deal because I think you get both. I think if you find out Vader is Anakin and his father, I think you get it all at once. So you still get
but not really, because you don't really know Anakin as a character.
Well,
you only
in this
know
case, you would if you watch the animated series.
In this case, you know because you watch the animated series. Yeah,
I personally am on board with this new one.
Yeah, this new one. Yeah. So I actually kind of like this
Especially
one because
younger audiences. I'm not sure if it would have some effect if you're watching it as an adult.
That's where I actually really liked this viewing order as well, because normally if you don't put in Clone Wars and you do just watch episode 4, 5, 6 and then 1, 2, 3, it's not enough of a surprise for me. It's like, okay, it's terrifying for Luke, but it's Anakin's story, right? Like, it's a 6-part story about Anakin Skywalker who falls and then is redeemed because of his son, right? It's only half about Luke, and if you count in the sequels, it's even less about Luke. So like it's
even less about the Skywalkers.
Yeah. So it's really Anakin's story for the majority of the saga, and I think George intended it to be that way by the end of it. But yeah, I like how Clone Wars does bring more oomph to that episode 5 reveal, because you now know who Anakin is and you've seen sort of the seeds planted, and so when it's revealed, like, oh, that's who he becomes, that's who he turns into, then it's cool. There's only one like little hiccup is there's the Mortis trilogy, which hints at who he will become when he speaks to the son.
I think that's why Sam Witwer said not all of it.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. You can define that however you like. You could define it like that, or you could be like you always skip season 1 or 2 kind of thing.
Yeah, it's true.
So you could define it however you like, but yeah.
And let's be honest, if you're a younger audience, you're probably not going to put the pieces together. Something complicated like that.
Yeah,
it's more of a preteen like target. I think that storyline.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on here to our main subject, the great Star Wars board game retrospective blog by BoardGameGeek. This was something I stumbled across and thought it was kind of worth talking about. So also Kirk will be right back. This was done in 2017. Credit goes to the user TRK27 Nat Green. Shout out to you if you're listening. Thank you for all these amazing images and text. So basically what this is sort of a walk through Star Wars, 40 years of Star Wars games. And, naturally, I think based on the time that we have, I'm going to try and summarize each thing as much as possible.
We're not going to go through every one in hyper detail.
Right, exactly.
I think we should discuss the mechanics of every game.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, starting off with number 1. This game is called Freedom in the Galaxy. The Star Rebellions, 5764 AD. That's the full name of the game. All right.
That's quite a mouthful.
So this is a 1979 war game from SPI, Simulations Publications Incorporated Games. This company is defunct, and it was also published by a different company called Avalon Hill. So it's not a Star Wars licensed game, but this person included it in the list because it is very much inspired by Star Wars.
No, you need to finish the rest of that sentence. So Avalon Hill never got the Star Wars license, so they released the game, but just replaced all the characters.
Yeah, that's right. All right, we got Kirk back. Awesome.
So Luke is named Adam Starlight, and Darth Vader is Red Jack.
Yeah, and I love how the designs look all exactly like the characters, right? Like he's got the
It's
tunic.
close. Vader
the
looks
belt.
a little different because they had to get rid of Vader's helmet.
Right. Kirk, we're just talking about the first game up on the first article on the list, Freedom in the Galaxy.
This game looks so complicated, dude.
Yeah, so basically this game is, if anyone has played the FFG Star Wars Rebellion game, it is like a more complicated version of that.
It's like that. It's like Outer Rim while doing your taxes.
Yeah. So it attempts to model the entirety of the galaxy conflict on a simulation level detail. There is an...
I'm just looking at some of the pictures here. What on earth is going on?
It is nuts.
Oh my goodness.
It is nuts. Like this is...
Is this officially licensed game?
No,
is this
no.
a
The
Lucasfilm
original
game?
one
Or this is,
was,
no.
but then there was a knockoff.
Well, this is like, this is the knockoff. Like there was no license for this to be a Star Wars game. Like
never mind.
it was created because they couldn't get the license at all. So it was created and they just couldn't use the Star Wars character names or planets or anything like that. So they just made it a space game, but then all the artwork looks like it's Star Wars to a degree. It's just like, it looks like knockoff Star Wars. You know what I mean?
So that's why the name's called Freedom in the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just looked at this without any context. I'm like, what does 5764 AD mean? Is that like...
The
Is
Star
that like,
Rebellion.
like after Death Star?
After Darth Vader.
I think I'm looking at the rule book here. The picture of the rule book is quite entertaining to look at, and I'm gonna drop a link in the description of this episode for everyone else who wants to see these photos.
Oh, wait, that's the rule book.
That's the rule book. So
Like
this thing looks like a dictionary.
What?
Is like section 21 chapter 21.0
Oh
hyper jumping, and then there's like a commentary, general rules about it.
Everything is just Star Wars stuff, but just renamed.
Yeah. It's hyper jumping at detection. Like, oh my gosh, like there's so much stuff going on here. Like I don't know what this
Space combat. In each orbit box, this contains opposing military unit. Space combat is resolved in the following order: 1. If there is an interception stack in an orbit box, the non-phasing player must attack all the phasing player's military units in the stack. I don't know. Say that may not be sack. I can't read it. It's blurry. But wow.
Yeah. So what they say about this is they said, luckily, Freedom in the Galaxy has 3 scales that beginners can use gradually to learn the rules for the full game. The system game, where you play as a single star system, the sector game, where you play as several star systems, and then the galactic game, where you play the whole board. Sadly, even the system game was beyond us. There are some great ideas in Freedom of the Galaxy. It's a highly asymmetrical game in which the rebels play a game of characters completing missions while the Empire plays a more traditional war game, moving large stacks of units around trying to detect and crush the willy rebels. The rebels start only with the characters which they use to complete diplomacy missions in order to foment rebellion and eventually evolve into a military force that can take on the Empire, which starts the game controlling all sectors. And if you're interested in more detailed rundown about how the game works, you can check out the link provided on the website. So it is a pretty detailed game, and pretty nuts to say that, like, this could have been a Star Wars game, but just hats off to FFG for making a game that was sort of similar, and it's called Rebellion, and it's still available for purchase, and I played it once. So thank you, Ben and Ellen, for buying that game, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have played it. And yeah.
Sorry, I got to read this slip that came in the box. There's like a little piece of paper, and it says, do a friend a favor. If you know someone who has the basic brain power to comprehend Avalon Hill games, then get him to send this postcard. And it goes on to say, like, you'll get a friend and stuff, and then to fill out his name, you put it under name of a bright friend. Because this game is just so complicated that the average person wouldn't be able to play it.
Wait, what? I wonder what year was this made in?
This was
Microcomputer
1979.
games.
1979 is when this game came out. So it was like...
I think it was designed 79 and then released in 82 under Avalon Games.
Oh, is that what it said?
I think so.
Okay. Anyway, pretty nuts.
What I find fascinating is how they because I'm assuming, was this company pretty big at the time, or?
Well, I don't really know, but I mean, they included it in the list because I think the conversation was there to make it a Star Wars game, and then they just couldn't get the license for it, so they just made it a knockoff Star Wars game.
Yeah.
But the game is designed to be a Star Wars game, which is cool.
Oh my
The
goodness.
cover art's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
How long do you think the average game is supposed to be?
I'm just gonna take a wild guess. 4 hours.
Estimated shortest game
Nah,
at 20
that's low
hours.
ball.
20 hours?
20 hours
Oh my gosh, that is nuts.
for a low estimate of 20 hours.
Dang. Okay. That.
So think like the worst game or
Wait,
risk
does
you've
that
ever done.
include? Does
Make
that
it worse.
does that include explaining the rules?
That's a
I-
good question.
I
think,
guess so.
I think it says low, so I'm guessing this is if you already know what you're doing.
Dang. Okay, so maybe not. That's nuts. All right, let's move on to number 2 here. Okay, so number 2 on the list is a Star Wars licensed game called Star Warriors. So this is one of the first games from West End Games, which the West End Games had the Star Wars license between 1987 and 1991, and supported through the late 90s. But that's when most of the games came out. The first of these is Star Warriors, Starfighter Combat in the Star Wars universe. It's a hex by counter style dogfighting war game. So it's a board with a bunch of hexes on it. You get some tokens, you get some dice, you get some stat sheets. Picture the miniatures game called X-Wing made by FFG, but much more primitive and much more old without all the fancy miniatures. It's all paper and tokens and very two-dimensional. But yes, this was published in 1987, the same year as the West End Star Wars D6 RPG, which Pablo Hidalgo talks about a lot, because that's the one that he said inspired a lot of the surrounding expanded universe stuff, but way back in the day when they were doing books like the Thrawn trilogy, you know, the what was that, Shadows of the Empire, stuff like that. A lot of that came out of the world that West End was building, you know, for Star Wars. All right, so what else details about this one?
It was 1987.
Yeah, it looks very similar to how X-Wing might play. There's certain tiles, like certain maneuvers that certain ships can do on the tiles. There's different ways that it can attack. You know, you got tables for the various different ship and you know how they can fly, how they can attack, you know, stuff like that. So like it very much is very similar to the X-Wing game, the miniatures game, except it looks way more complicated. And you know, as far as X-Wing goes, it is a canceled miniatures game now, and you know, I enjoyed playing it, but yeah, it looks very, very similar to that, just old school. So
I think, well, I'm guessing a lot of these older games are going to be probably created by fans of like classic Dungeons and Dragons. So there's probably going to be a lot of tables and like, dice rolling. It's interesting though that everything is based around the D6.
Yeah, that's how they did there. That was just a West End Games kind of thing, I guess. What's interesting is I'm looking at a picture of one of the in the rule book. Chapter 36 in the rule book says using Star Warriors with Star Wars the role playing game. So they designed it to also tie into their other game, which was the role playing game. So that way, if you did fly somewhere and get into a dogfight, you had an entire other game to simulate the dogfighting experience.
Bro, could you imagine being like 30 hours into a campaign and you got to do a space battle and your character just dies?
Yeah, like you're literally playing a game inside of a game, like at that point, right? Like,
Yeah.
It's a concept that's not super foreign to me though. Like back when I played a Star Wars role playing game
Edge
with
of the
you,
Empire? Yeah, I think we
and
did that.
yeah, we did, and I think I did use the X-wing minifigs.
That was fun. Yeah, we could definitely.
At one point, our group of characters got like the Outrider, you know, that's
right.
YT.
And I had the VCX 100. I don't know if we ever used it.
Yeah, no, that's right. So anyway, yeah, it was cool to do that, to have the option.
I'd be down to do that again soon, by the way, if we wanted to put together a campaign.
Yeah, so much work to do, but
So
yeah.
much fun, though.
Okay, third on the list, Star Wars Miniatures Battles, also West End Games. This is basically Star Wars Legion, but vintage. It's from, let's see, 1991, I think, or yeah, 1991. Picture Warhammer 40K, the Lord of the Rings miniatures game, Star Wars Legion, Shatterpoint, anything like that. Paintable figures, you dress them up yourself, you do the basing, all that stuff is a hobby/miniature war game. And this was put out by West End Games. I actually didn't know that they did a miniature war game for Star Wars.
These were made out of pewter. They're not even plastic.
No, yeah, actually a lot of the vintage Warhammer and Lord of the Rings miniatures are also made of pewter, but they stopped doing that. Now everything's resin and,
It's too expensive,
and plastic. Yeah. But all the old stuff is
cool.
Is metal. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
They don't make them like they used to.
They don't.
Right.
Yeah, Kirk, you into any hobby gaming? You play any of the old Star Wars board games back in the day?
No, I haven't. I have to admit to that. Although there's these board game cafes that have become increasingly popular around my city, and quite often once a month I find myself going out to them, which is good because so much entertainment stuff these days is all looking at a screen, so it's always good to be able to interact with people in person. But no, I haven't played any of these. Like all of these are completely new to me.
Right. Yeah. It's a big hobby out there. As much as Star Wars has a ton of video games, right? Like it's an IP that's generated a lot of video games.
Big in the 90s, right?
Yeah, for sure. But it's also an IP that has generated a lot of card/board games as well. And so that's kind of why we're doing this, because it's just interesting to look back at some of the things that have existed. And board games are different than video games in the sense where video games, because it's a digital thing, can be replicated and preserved a bit easier.
Yeah, it's easier to emulate and use them and catalog them.
Yeah.
And find copies.
And you can still buy like a Steam package for $12. I think it's on sale right now for $12. You get 15 vintage Star Wars games.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas board games, unless you get lucky at some random
right, there's no way to recreate them.
Or a thrift shop. It's kind of just luck of the draw. This stuff's probably old and missing pieces.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff goes up in value big time because it's never published again, and because it's only publishable under the license. And if a company loses the license to publish the game that they made with that IP, they can't publish it anymore.
That's why I grabbed a copy of Epic Duels.
Yeah, and that's also why I grabbed as many. I own, other than one paper module for the journeys and maps, for boats and water travel. I own all of the books for the first edition of The One Ring, the RPG for Lord of the Rings, The One Ring role-playing game. And I went on a bit of a streak trying to find all these books because I knew that they lost the license. So I knew that they weren't able to publish this game anymore. And they did end up finding a different publisher to get the license or something to then continue doing it, but it's in the form of a second edition. So it's different than the first edition. And there are things that they've improved and things that they've changed or whatever. But the first edition books will never be recreated again. And because they're doing a second edition, they're trying to focus on other areas of Middle-earth to write source books for and everything, because they know that a lot of the people buying this may have bought first edition books.
Right.
So they're prioritizing other stuff. So it kind of it's a lot of these games, they're it's a spot in time that never really gets recreated,
Nope, that's true. And then eventually they stop and they wait long enough that then they do it all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
When's the next Star Wars RPG going to come out?
Right. Yeah. It always gets rebooted every now and again. But yeah, Star Wars, the miniature battles is essentially, it's a standalone game, but they also tied that into the West End Games RPG as well. So that's the second game. So they did the space battles game, they did the miniatures battles games, and both of those games tie into the RPG game that they made. And there was a large amount of content surrounding the Thrawn trilogy, but they have a entire chapter dedicated for importing that game into the role-playing game. And undoubtedly they had stats for miniatures that they referenced in the role-playing game source books, very similar to how Wizards of the Coast did it. That was a model that transferred over very well into Wizards of the Coast, because Wizards of the Coast did the Star Wars miniatures game, which I have very many of those, as well as the Star Wars role-playing game, which a lot of the characters in some of these source books, a lot of the artwork and the characters and stuff, you can buy a miniature that they made that worked for a different game that they made, but you could use it for that exact character in a source book that they made for the role-playing game.
We used to use those for RPG stuff all the time.
Yeah. Number 4, Star Wars Starfighter Battle Book. So this one looks interesting. This one, what is this?
So one book has an X-Wing on it, and the other one has a TIE fighter, and you throw them at each other.
It's a variation of the Aces of Aces system. You know what that is?
I do not.
Battle book.
Interesting. Okay. So the best way to describe how this game works is that it's a sort of competitive choose your own adventure book. One player takes the role of an X-Wing pilot for the Rebels, while the other pilots take the TIE Interceptor book for the Empire. Each player takes the book that corresponds with their ship. It says each page of the book shows a view of the cockpit from the player's fighter. Well, this is the one I was talking about to you earlier. And the relative position of the opponent's fighter to them. So the corresponding page in the opponent's book will show them their view from that position. And so each page in the book shows the maneuvers available to the fighter, which differ somewhat between the ships. And every turn you select a maneuver and tell your opponent the page number beneath it, and your opponent does the same to you. You both flip to that page, and from that page, you go to your final page, which is then given the maneuver on the selected mid-flight page, and then the final. Yeah, so it's like a back and forth. You're flipping through this book and telling the opponent where you are, and it kind of gives you the options that you have to like dodge or shoot or whatever.
It's like a turn-based battle system, what it sounds like.
Yeah,
in novel form.
It's kind of like a shifting puzzle that you're both playing and trying to guess what the other person will do, and then making a educated guess on maybe what they might do. And
if this functions well, because it might just be terrible, but if it functions well, this could be something that actually would be fun to do on a road trip.
Yeah, because you're basically, there's no pieces, there's no, it's literally just a book.
Two books. Each player gets a book, and that's it.
Yeah, it's very cool. I love the concept behind this. This is like an excellent travel game, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Just two little small paperback books.
Keep it in the car.
Yeah, that is really sweet.
Wait, are we all looking at the same thing? Because the battle book I'm looking at has like a board game after it.
Oh yeah, it's the Starfighter Battle Book. It's like a number 4 on the list.
Yeah.
So it's
I'm looking at the cover, but I was looking at
2 books that came out.
I was looking at it like it was a
Oh, you're looking at
I was
it like
looking
it was
at it like it was a box.
Oh, got it. No,
it seemed like a box, and then I saw the pictures afterwards.
Yeah, keep scrolling down. There's like
I think I clicked into one of the images.
Oh, got it. Okay, yeah. If you keep scrolling down, then there's more pictures of the open books and stuff. So.
Right, yeah, I don't know why, but when I think I clicked on a picture, and then like when I hit next, it showed one of the other images, so it looked like it was a box to a book.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you're right. It would be a pretty awesome thing if you didn't get car sick.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it said it's hard to find now, but it goes for something like $60 on eBay. If you see it for cheap, definitely give it a go. So it says in general, it's a great little game, not overly heavy or hard to learn, but it's very luckless and rewards experience and anticipation, unlike some other West End games of this period. It's also not in any way dependent on the RPG. Unlike the miniatures game or the Star Wars, like the Starfighter game, this one is very much a standalone experience, so you don't need to tie that into the role-playing game. All right, number 5 on the list, Assault on Hoth, The Empire Strikes Back. So the next 2 games on this list, Assault on Hoth and Battle for Endor, are built upon the same basic system that randomized action order decks and relatively simple combat mechanics to present an experience that is much more accessible than West End's other Star Wars hex encounter games like Star Warriors. Due to the similar nature of both games, they'll go through the gameplay, both including and comparative analysis. Okay, so let's just take a look at this. It looks like a board with hexes on it, very similar to the Starfighter game. Tokens, dice, rulebook, deck of cards. It simulates the Battle of Hoth, simulates the Battle of Endor.
This is where FFG got the idea of custom dice.
Yes, they made custom dice for this game, did they?
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So that's where it started. Thanks, West End Games. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So really not too much to elaborate on that, but cool.
I take it we don't like custom dice.
Well, I don't mind them, but it just makes it less compatible. If you lose a dice, you have to go out and buy more.
As your character gets stronger, you also need more dice, and then they charge you like $25 for a pack of 5.
Yeah, because they're proprietary dice, so they always.
That's where they get you.
Yeah.
As opposed to like just classic like D20 system.
They always underprovide dice too. Like,
I know. I remember they were sold out for a long time. Oh man.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So both these games are very, very similar. Not too much to elaborate on there. So I'll move on to the next one on the list. Wow, there's a lot of photos for these. Okay. Okay, number 7. This is the one that I was itching to talk about. This is called Star Wars: The Queen's Gambit. This was released around the release of the Phantom Menace film. It was published in 2000 by Hasbro, and they also published Star Wars, the Star Wars Risk edition. So like Risk, the game Risk. They made a Star Wars version of that. So they're going to be covering both those in this section of the article, but. So this is a really cool game. Starting off with Queen's Gambit, it allows the combatants to fight through the climactic moments of the Phantom Menace. So they provide 2 boards. One of them simulates the grassy fields of the Gungans versus the droids. Then in the middle, you have the Naboo Royal Temple, which has 3 layers built on these pillars. Each layer is its own board, and that's where Padme and her guards are breaking into the temple, and there's droids in those hallways. And then the third board is on the other side of the middle section, and it's the Duel of Fates between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Maul. So there is no game quite like this game. That's
why I was reading this little paragraph here, which is the Queen's Gambit, which allows combatants to fight through the climactic moments of the Phantom Menace, is now a grail game for many collectors.
Yeah.
So it was very sought after. So it regularly goes for over $300.
Yeah.
USD.
So it is a 3-part story-based board filled to the brim with 155 plastic minifigs.
That's a lot.
Setting up and playing this game is a life event, a celebration of the one redeeming sequence of episode 1. That's what they say here. So the appeal doesn't just end with the looks. The gameplay is solid and engaging. The game is made up of 4 sub games, each of them representing one aspect of the Battle of Naboo. So we got I forgot, of course, there's also the Starfighter battle going on in space. They have a section for that too. So you have the Battle of Naboo. The Theed Palace is the center of the conflict. In order to win, the Queen's forces have to detain the Trade Federation Viceroy by having the majority of figures in the throne room on the top floor, which is, if you're looking at the image, 3 layers of like the 3-layered cake of a board. Are you seeing this, Kirk?
I am seeing it.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. The Trade Federation, on the other hand, has to kill all but 2 of the Queen's figures in the palace to win. Each player has a hand of order cards, which are drawn in any combination of the 2 decks, and which focus on a different combination of the sub games. It's like there's so much going on here, man. Like I love it. I've never
pretty complicated.
I've never played this
3
game,
games at once.
You're playing like 4 games at once. You're playing 4 games at once. It's like 3 or 4 games at once. Yeah, it's like it's crazy. And then on the right side you got like the duel between the Jedi there.
Oh right.
And then you have the space battle going on. Then you have the Gungan battle going on. You got so much stuff happening all in this one board game. And I gotta say, like, it's
is this a replica of another board game? Because like, how on earth do people come up with this?
No,
stuff?
this is that's why this is like the crown jewel of a Star Wars board game collector. Is like there is no game that is like this game. Like maybe 3D chess, maybe, but like that's the only.
Is this officially licensed?
Oh yeah,
is it
yeah. This is a Hasbro game. This is launched in 2000,
Phantom
so it was a long time ago.
They went crazy, man. There's so much merch.
Phantom Menace had some wicked merch. They went all out.
Did you see the lollipops?
There's Jar Jar lollipops?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could suck on Jar Jar's tongue. You get one of those, Kirk?
I have not personally, but I have seen someone unbox one and open one, mint, that has not been opened since 2000. And let me tell you something. No, it was strawberry flavor apparently. And let me tell you something. It looked like the manifestation and incarnation of the Ebola virus. It was rotten.
Oh, jeez.
I still have no idea who signed off on that, but I love them for it.
So they included the...
Wait, we're both talking about the thing that you can suck on Jar Jar's tongue, right? The lollipop?
Right. Yeah, the lollipop. Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. Just double checking I'm not the weird one here. Very good.
Yeah. Okay, so number 8 on the list, Risk, the Star Wars edition. This version in particular was released around The Force Awakens. Late 2015s. This is a reimagining of the Queen's Gambit. It changes the setting to the Battle of Endor, so it's actually based around Episode 6. There's 2 versions of the game that were put out in different price points. More on that later. But for now, in the photos, we've got a image of the board looks like a TIE fighter, like in shape, right? But the center is like the space battle. It's like a circular area with the Death Star 2 in the middle. And you got the Rebels on one side, the Imperials on the other, all with like little minifigures of TIE fighters and X-Wings and all that stuff. And then on the right side, it looks like it's the Battle of Endor with the Ewoks and the Rebels and stuff like that. And then on the left side, on the left wing of the board, it looks like it's the throne room with the duel between Luke and Vader. So that's all that's going on there. There's a deck of cards included. And because it's a game of Risk, naturally, it looks like you're playing just a game of Risk on 3 different levels, on 3 like isolated areas, with the 2 on the sides being, you know, obviously a little different than a traditional Risk game. But so yeah, uses the same mechanics.
Wait, actually, I'm really sorry. I going back to Queen's Gambit, I just did a quick eBay search of how much a sealed new version of this is selling for right now.
Is it $1,000?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd say at least $1,000.
Yeah, $1,000.
Wait, what currency are we talking?
Okay, well,
we'll go with USD.
Yeah, we'll go with USD. Yeah, USD. So 1300 Canadian or so.
Okay, let me do a quick currency conversion here because I'm in fair income Aussie dollars. So give me a
Aussie dollars.
Give me a quick second. So yeah, a sealed version right now is going for $1,400 US.
Yeah, it's so close. Dang. That is nuts. That is nuts.
You're gonna pay your rent.
Well, 2096. Wait, not including shipping for me, unfortunately. So you have to pay for shipping as well. But yeah, $2,100.
That's
my goodness,
crazy.
I wouldn't mind buying that. I'm totally kidding.
It's an investment, Josh. Think of it as an investment.
What a stable investment.
We should get one and auction it off on the podcast.
If anyone wants to give us a copy of this game, please.
We'll review it. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll review it and maybe we'll send it back. So yeah, this Risk version though, it's cool. I didn't realize that when I saw that. I remember when this came out and I just saw the Risk banner up top and I thought nothing of it.
Me too. I just assumed it was like regular Risk.
I just thought it was regular, because they do like Star Wars Monopoly and stuff, and it's like, I don't care. You know,
what are we doing here?
Not to be a downer, but I just don't care enough to buy a Star Wars skinned version of a game, right? And the best Star Wars games are always
the custom ones,
custom built Star Wars games.
Those are also risky because sometimes they're just trash.
Right. Yeah.
I can't speak for specifically some of the Star Wars, but I've played some random off-brand. I had a Bionicle board game. Man, it was brutal.
Yeah, but it's so interesting seeing how this game functions, and I kind of regret not buying this Risk game, but yeah. Anyways, very cool stuff. And if any of you see the sorry, and it did mention there was going to be a like a one-up version of that same Risk game, like the one that launched in 2015. And I'm just looking at photos of that now, and it's basically it basically looks the exact same. It's just a fancier box. It's got some more high-end embossed components to it. Like the board is nicer, the cards are nicer, the box is nicer, stuff like that.
Sorry, for which one?
For the premium version of the 2015 Star Wars Risk, which is basically a reskinned Queen's Gambit game.
Admittedly, the board looks better than Queen's Gambit.
Yes, that's because it's 3D. It's got the levels to it. I mean, that's what's so cool about it, right?
Yeah, no, I've never seen a board game like that.
No, I mean, I'm sure we could probably recreate it using I don't know. If anyone's got the game out there, please scan it and share this somewhere. I would love to get my hands on even if it's a knockoff version, just to play the game itself, would be awesome. Okay, next, moving on. The next one.
I want to just read this paragraph for the Risk.
All right, go for it.
So to sum up the game's mechanics, Risk Star Wars Edition, at its heart, is a fairly neat and fun little light board game that is wedged between 2 mini games, one tedious but mandatory, and the other extraneous. And neither of which are connected to the core of the game very well. So it sounds like probably take a pass.
Maybe take a pass on the 2015 version. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So moving on, we got number 9, which is Star Wars Epic Duels. Now, I have nothing but good things to say about this game. This game was published under the Milton Bradley label. Also Hasbro, I think. Technically, it is the same company, I guess. Epic Duels is basically a miniatures game that relies on decks of cards for your combat, special moves, defense, everything. There is, I don't think there's no dice in actually, yeah, I think there was one. Is there a dice?
Yeah, I can see him looking at it. Yeah.
I forget. Yeah, there is dice. Yeah, there is a dice. Okay. It tells you how many spaces you can move a character or all your characters. And then you have your deck of cards for everything else. So it's very unique. The boards are very small. It's very simple mechanics. You can only shoot in a straight line. Or diagonally. You can't shoot in line. It's not a typical miniatures war game where you shoot in line of sight. But I have this game and it is incredibly fun. It is a huge party game because, I mean, heck, you could have all the characters out on the board. Everyone plays as one character. You can have alliances going on. You can have teams. It's unlike any other game out there. And if you see a copy of Epic Duels on the shelf at a garage sale, at a vintage, like a, what do you call those? Like a antique mall, or I don't know, like a thrift store, whatever. Anything like that.
Shop.
Yeah.
You
Just
can usually go to I'm sure there's used board game stores too.
Just buy it. It's so worth it. This
Craigslist.
This game is like probably my number one on the list, having not played Queen's Gambit. This one's my number one. What I didn't know about this game is that there was nearly a Clone Wars version, a newer, updated version, because this game came out before Episode 3 came out. This was around the release of Attack of the Clones, so 2002, 2003. And there was almost a 2008-9 version when Clone Wars came out. This looks, based on the box artwork, it looks like it would have been around Season 2 of Clone Wars based on the red text. So probably 2010, maybe. And it unfortunately, it got canceled. This was an image of the box, of the product that ended up not getting mass produced, but they had the entire game repackaged, redesigned, reskinned for Clone Wars, and it would have come out and then it just disappeared. And the person who wrote the article here says, Hasbro's content to garbage out endless variations of Risk and Monopoly while failing to support any of their actual good games. So a bit of a slam there. Epic Duels itself was never reprinted and now regularly goes for $70 on eBay or more. So definitely, if you see a copy, Kirk, what's the running amount for a new sealed edition of Epic Duels?
All right, let me just plug it into my Star Wars board game calculator. I think this is where you play a.
What is it in the Aussie dollar?
Let's have a look here. In the Fed Income Aussie dollar account, we've got, this one's a bargain. It's 280 Australian dollars.
Okay, so US, what is
which
that?
is
$200?
US dollars about 186 United States dollary dues.
All right. So
nice.
Yeah, there you go. And this game, let me tell you, awesome game. I mean, you played it, right?
I actually picked up a copy because I liked it so much.
Yeah. What'd you get yours for?
I was actually just trying to think about that. I bought it secondhand, so I can't quite remember.
Okay.
I got it from a coworker.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Cool. Sweet. So to make it even better, just so you know, there is a fan community of people that have supported this board game in an unofficial way, made decks of cards for new Star Wars characters, for new stories, and created boards and everything like that. Let me tell you, some of these unofficial decks are over the top redonkulous when it comes to some of the things that they can do. But if somebody is so into this game that they want to keep going and play more characters, updated characters, whatever, there is a community of people to do that and a Discord to join for that. And I think I am in that Discord, if I'm not mistaken. And somebody in our Discord is actually from that Discord. So it's just been a while since I've heard from that person or seen any messages from that person, but I will put a link. Oh, I'm still in that Discord. Yeah. So I will put a link to their community Discord in our podcast episode this week because yeah, it's worth you guys knowing. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is number 10.
Unfortunately, on that bombshell, I'm going to have to
step out.
Exit out of this.
No worries, man.
I'm going to have to step out. So
time to abandon ship.
All right, buddy. We will catch you in the next one.
Actually,
yeah.
Sorry. I'm supposed to be out of the escape pod. Does that sound all right?
There he goes. All right, see you, Kirk.
Bye.
All right. So, big thank you to Kirk for joining on this week. All right. So let's hit the next one on the list. Episode 1, Clash of the Lightsabers. This one we're going back a little bit to 99 for a brief look at a small card game that Hasbro put out as part of their Episode 1 merchandising. Clash of the Lightsabers is a miniatures game with, looks like 2 decks of cards. You lay out 5 cards on the table. You kind of choose your moves, and it's very simple. It looks like a rock paper scissors sort of card game based on the cards. And the miniatures just represent which card you're playing at that turn. So
they still had pewter miniatures here.
Yeah, vintage game. Very cool. I think the only reason why Queen's Gambit didn't have pewter is only because there was like 159. They went with plastic, but
the box would be like 100 pounds.
Yeah. Oh, it's worth noting. Epic Duels has pre-painted minifigs.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, and they're not very like detailed or anything, but it's like it's like a rarity for the time.
Yeah, because there's a lot of effort to paint all that stuff.
Yeah,
and actually do like multiple colors.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Anyway, this game looks pretty cool. Looks like it's just Qui-Gon and Darth Maul, no Obi-Wan in there, but
Darth Maul wins every time.
Looks like Obi-Wan's on the cards, but you don't get an Obi-Wan figure. So
unless this was made when George had the plan for Qui-Gon to become Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that's right. But then why is it Liam Neeson? Oh man. Okay. So anything to say on that one, or should we move on to the next one?
I'm just skimming through the pictures here. It's kind of hard to follow because it is just cards.
Yeah. To sum it up, they said Clash of the Lightsabers may be an uninspired game, but it's not an objectively terrible one. The bluffing and mind games are there, and for a 15-minute long 2-player game, you could certainly do worse. It can easily be found on eBay for about $3 to $5, which is worth for the pewter minis alone. Let's just say that, for better or worse, it's an appropriately priced $3 to $5 game.
Cool. Reading some of the cards, like discard your entire hand, draw an equal number. It seems like it's kind of overlap with Uno.
Yeah. All right. Next up on the list, number 11, we got Risk Star Wars Clone Wars Edition. This is what appears to be unlike
Risk.
Unlike the 2015 Risk Star Wars Edition, which is basically Queen's Gambit, this is actually a Risk game, just Risk skinned as a Star Wars game. That's typical. And that's why I avoided the 2015 one, to be honest. But
I had assumed it was like this as well.
Yeah.
This one's 2004.
So this one's the typical, so this one is encompassing the prequel trilogy in the theming. And to follow this up, they also released a Risk Star Wars Original Trilogy Edition, which came later, and that one is basically just the original trilogy planets and figures and theming with the Rebellion versus the Empire. So that's the main difference there. But so you can get those 2 editions. They're both just standard Star Wars Risk games. Flying around the galaxy, taking over planets, stuff like that. Oh, and in the original trilogy Risk, the third wheel is the Hutts. Apparently they play neither the Empire nor the Rebels needs to defeat the Hutts to win, but if you leave the Hutts entirely alone, the Hutts can actually win on their own. And it seems like maybe it's like an AI part of the game, or maybe it's just a third faction or something. I don't know how that works, but that looks kind of interesting. The fact that there's like a NPC player playing alongside the two-player Risk.
It's kind of a cool twist
system. Yeah, it's a bit of a nice twist. Okay, and that is the last sort of detailed post that this person has given. So let's see how we're doing on time. We're okay. We got a little bit left. So in order to follow this up, I mean, let's just look at some of the more some of the really nice kind of vintage games, which I thought were kind of cool, and probably worth taking a look at. But somebody might have questions as far as like some of the more current games that are available and some of the things that maybe we've played in recent history. So without any details at all, I'm just going to run through this list in like 10 seconds. And then maybe you could just keep in mind some of the ones that you've played, and then we can just kind of elaborate on those. So some of the best board games you can buy right now that are either only slightly out of print because they just got canceled within the last 2 years, but you can still find them within reason, or games that are still being printed to this day. So for those of you who recognize a few on the list that aren't printed anymore, just know that this is maybe an older list, but it is for 2024. It's just you can still find places that sell these games. Okay, so number 1, Star Wars The Mandalorian Adventures board game. It's fairly newer. Star Wars Bounty Hunters, Star Wars Shatterpoint, Star Wars Unlimited, Star Wars Jabba's Palace of Love Letter game, Star Wars The Deck Building game, Star Wars The Clone Wars, Star Wars Villainous Power of the Dark Side, Star Wars Outer Rim, Star Wars X-Wing 2nd Edition, Star Wars Imperial Assault, Star Wars Rebellion, Star Wars Destiny, and Star Wars Legion. Those are the games that you can find right now in a store and buy. Those are card and board games. And as far as I know, the one that they've left out here is Star Wars Armada, but it's worth knowing that both Star Wars Armada and Star Wars X-Wing 2nd Edition have been canceled, and you will find it much harder to buy those games.
Does that mean that Edge of the Empire is at a print now?
It doesn't have Edge of the Empire on this list, but yes, the FFG, the more recent FFG Star Wars role-playing game, which lasted from 2013 all the way up until about 2 or 3 years ago, went for a long time.
Yeah,
like over 10 years or something,
I think, as well,
or about 10 years. But yeah, they've stopped. They still have the license, but they've stopped making new content for that game.
Can you still find the old stuff available?
The newest things, so the newest modules so the game that you're referring to is the FFG role-playing Star Wars game. So they did 3 main titles of that game, which all take place in different eras. So that was Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, and Forces and Destiny. Those were like the 3 packages that you could buy, all different theming.
Did they ever do the prequels?
Yes. So those were the 3 ones that they kicked off with, as well as a starter set for The Force Awakens. Now, it is the same game, translatable across these different source books. The only thing that was different between all of these different like sub versions was that you had different theming around the story that you start off with, the different source books that you got with it, the character classes that you could make, all that stuff. Like it was like, because the Star Wars galaxy is so big, they thought they would kind of split it up into these different kind of sub genres. And I think that was maybe a relatively good idea for people who were like, oh, I really want that smuggler bounty hunter experience with Edge of the Empire, or I really want that Rebel versus Empire experience with Age of Rebellion, or I really want the Jedi experience with Forces and Destiny, right? So it really kind of splits it up, and you might be thinking like, oh, well, what if I want a character, like if I want a Rebel with a Jedi and a smuggler all in one group of players? You can totally do that. It's just it just kind of made it easier to run a campaign core focused on one of these types of stories if you went down the road of buying books for that particular title. But they're all compatible, right? Eventually, they stopped doing that, and they started releasing just generic Star Wars role-playing game books for the FFG RPG game. And they had a different look about the cover, and they did do 2 books that were quite large, and they summarized all of Clone Wars. The first half was like most of the animated show, and then the second half was the remainder of the animated show plus Revenge of the Sith. And the first book also encompassed Attack of the Clones in there.
So it kind of goes up to like Order 66.
Yeah, so it did basically Attack of the Clones, Clone Wars, Episode 3. So it was like kind of that span, and then also just after Episode 3. So like they covered basically that whole era in the 2 books. I don't think they ever got around to Episode 1 era stuff. I think if anything, they may have slipped something in a few pages, maybe at the beginning of the first Clone Wars book. I never actually picked it up to read it. But yeah, they did stuff like that, kind of on the side later, as like source books and story material goes. But yeah, that game lasted a long time. It's almost too bad that they stopped doing it. And I kind of wonder.
We kind of need to do like a pre Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
so like go.
It would.
Like a couple of Jedi younglings or whatever, all on like just a small adventure.
Right.
Instead of like a whole war.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Yeah, and technically
you
that's
probably
like,
do that with those mechanics. Just like theming. But
yeah, you can. You can write your own adventure and stuff. I mean, like that's the thing. Well, like a role playing game, once you got the basic rules and the dice system down, you can do anything. Like
yeah, for sure.
You got enough details in all the source books, you can make it happen. But yeah, it's too bad that's not on the list. But FFG is one of those companies that I personally have had some bad experiences. Like with some of the stuff that they've done. Outer Rim is on this list, and that is probably one of the best Star Wars board games I've ever played, and that is an FFG board game.
Yeah, that one is really good. I do think it's a tad long.
It's a 3-hour game.
Yeah,
but it's a
my
cool.
only complaint.
It's a 4-player game. It is the only game that can capture that experience experience of being a smuggler of a notable smuggler character of some kind, like Lando or Han or Hondo or whatever, like Boba Fett you choose a character, you play as that character, and it is the only game that can give you the experience it gives you with making it feel like you're living in that story. You know, like you got planets that you can travel to around this half moon-shaped ring of a board. And there's markets.
Or a full ring with the expansion.
Yeah, well, it doesn't complete the circle, but it like gives you portals that you can jump to the other side. How it works? Okay. Yeah. It is so cool. It's so awesome. Like the objective of that game is to be the most famous in the galaxy. So that was really cool. I recommend that to anybody. But yeah, I'm honestly kind of surprised that they've had issues like that with discontinuing games so quickly. Imperial Assault, also a game that they killed off. That was a cool game. We played that for a while. It has it's like a one person plays the Empire, everyone else plays a rebel.
Oh, that's right.
And it's a bunch of it's like a campaign. So like every game you play is different. The board is made up of puzzle pieces. The app helps drive the story, and it's like the Imperials versus like the rebels, basically.
But it's like one person plays the Empire, and then there's a team of other players.
Yeah, and it's always like objective based.
You play as a single character. It's basically, if anyone's ever played Borderlands, it's like you're the Borderlands team. You just play your character, and you level up and get experience and get different abilities and talents and stuff. But then you're playing against one other player who is the Empire.
Yeah.
From our experience, though, because of the way experience is rewarded, whoever wins the first game, if you manage, I would say maybe at the end of the second game, the same team has won both, then you just get so far ahead of the other player that it just becomes impossible for them to catch up.
It is. And the interesting thing with this game is there's 3 different ways to play. So we played the Empire vs. Rebellion play style where you could have 5 people playing. But there is a players versus the board way to play. And that I think is only 4 players, but you use an app to drive the enemies. And that one's really cool. That's most similar to a newer version of this game, which they're doing still, called The Lord of the Rings Journey Through Middle-earth.
Is it a Star Wars game?
No. But it's the same. It's basically just Imperial Assault 2.0.
That's pretty cool.
Except it's Lord of the Rings.
I might pick that up.
Yeah, my Ben has it, and it's and I've bought him most of the expansions for it, and I forget if I bought him the core game or not as well. But anyway, it is incredibly well designed. They one-upped Imperial Assault on a few different levels. So first being they ditched the other 2 modes. They exclusively feature the players versus the app.
Yeah.
And then they went ham on the app. So
my only concern with that is if the app ever gets discontinued, you can't play the game.
Well, the app, yeah. So you can get it on Steam. You can get it on the app stores pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, but what about 20 years from now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, an app, it's not an online only app, so you can just sideload the APK file or whatever. There's ways to do it. But what I like about this version is that you can DLC new campaigns, which is not something that they sell physically, but it uses the components in your box, and you pay like $5 and you get like another 20 hours of like play material out of it, because you're able to they have a whole story that they've constructed and everything, but it's something that they just ship on that platform. So that was really cool. And they kept the physical expansions quantity-wise way down. Like, I think there was only like 4 or 5. There was like 2 major boxes that you could buy, and then like 4 or 5 like individual like small character packs.
Right. Yeah, they went super hard on that for Imperial Assault.
Imperial Assault, they went nuts because the third mode that you could play with Imperial Assault was a 1v1 miniature war game. So if you bought all the pieces, right? If you bought all the pieces, you can make an army and play like a skirmish style battle, which was basically just Star Wars miniatures from Wizards of the Coast, but on a smaller scale. And I just I don't even know if I played that mode of the game, but because I already played Star Wars miniatures, so I was like, what's the point of that mode?
Right.
But it was like, I think they just had their hands too full with what they tried to accomplish with the Imperial Assault, and it was a cool idea, but I think they really mastered the best of Imperial Assault in the Lord of the Rings version.
I think then they're also trying to do like Armada, and there's also
Armada was like
Rebellion is the other bigger one.
No, X-Wing. So Armada was the big fleet ships. Scale stuff. Yeah. So that was like you had like a cluster of tiny little X-Wings on one piece.
Yeah.
And then X-Wing is the ship-to-ship dogfight minifigure game, which I have behind you there.
But I think what I was going to get at those, I think at that point they had 3 different miniature-based games, and that's just a lot of physical printing.
It was
stuff.
Imperial Assault, it was X-Wing, it was Armada, and then they started producing Legion, which was
right. That's what I was trying to.
Which was FFG's basically their version of Warhammer 40K.
Yeah.
And Legion is still being produced. It is done very well, but now they've offloaded all their miniature games minus Armada and X-Wing, so to a different company, and now they've started up a new miniature game called Shatterpoint. So this one is way more. It's less about a mini army and more of a squad based. I play with 4 or 5 figures, and it's a bit more kind of objective based, and I'm more dependent on like having like a really detailed terrain setup. So like you have like multiple layers and stuff like that. Whereas Legion you can play on a tabletop and maybe have a few things, but like not super crazy. Shatterpoint is probably most comparable to a Marvel game that they're producing right now called Crisis Protocol. So any game heads out there will recognize that. So Shatterpoint's the newest one, and the miniature's also bigger than Legion. And Legion's already big compared to some miniature game, but Shatterpoint might be a good jumping on point for anyone who wants to paint Star Wars minifigures and play a game that's like you don't need to buy a lot to just kind of support a second person to play with you kind of thing. One starter set's like you can stop there and like you paint 2 factions all included in the box, good to go.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's good because I know even the X-Wing game, man, if you just buy some of those ships, you buy like one ship, like $80.
Yeah, some of the X-Wing, and those are all, what's cool about X-Wing though is that all those were pre-painted.
True.
Yeah, and they were masterfully detailed. Like some of the X-Wing ships that I own, I bought because it was just a cool ship, right? Like
display it, yeah.
I don't think I've ever even actually played with 1 or 2 of them in there. I just bought it because I was like, oh yeah, that's a cool ship. Like,
Yeah,
I'll just buy it.
And I will also say that it was very complimentary to the Edge of the Empire for us to do space battles.
It was, yeah. It was really nice to have.
Unique shit, right?
Totally. Yeah, it was nice to have the detailed figs and stuff. So I have figs when X-Wing 1.0 was a thing, and then 2.0 kind of made some of the rules more simple and better. They improved some things, and then they expanded with 2.0. They expanded to Republic, Separatists, First Order, Resistance, Fringe, like bounty hunters and stuff like that. Whereas the 1.0 version was very exclusively Rebellion and Empire factions.
There was the
and Fringe.
And Fringe, yeah.
They eventually got to Fringe, but yeah, it took a little while though. There's some cool some cool games out there. Star Wars Unlimited is probably the one that Kyle would want me to mention. Kyle of Kai Sabers. Links in the description below, by the way, for his company. But he recently bought into the Star Wars Unlimited game, which is Star Wars FFG's recent TCG. So if anyone out there is really into Pokemon, or a game like Disney Lorcana or Yu-Gi-Oh, anything like that, like opening booster packs, stuff like that, Star Wars Unlimited is for you. That's what that game is all about. I have personally never played Star Wars Unlimited, but I have played a different game, which is not on it is on this list actually. It's called Star Wars The Deck Building Game. It's a 1v1 card game. The deck building game is an all-in-one box. It's a 30-minute game. It's kind of hard to describe, but basically you're just it's all based on cards, and you're just trying to take out the enemy's base. It's like a tower defense game, but for like cards, right? So Star Wars Unlimited is very similar to that, and it works differently than other card games out there, but I personally like the rules of Lorcana more. So and also the theming I think agrees with people in my circles a bit more. I'm the only Star Wars nut, so I decided not to go down the unlimited path, but also a fear of FFG canceling another game.
Yeah, that is fair.
But so fair warning to people out there. But yeah, a lot of hype around Unlimited. Apparently, is doing fairly well. So. Lots more on the list. I will leave the description in the link in the description below. I think that sums up our board game highlight for the night. We should probably wrap things up here, but there's 2 real quick things. Actually, maybe we should save the Lego stuff for next week.
Next time.
Okay, we'll talk about Lego next week, everybody.
That way it's fresh in your mind for Black Friday deals.
Yeah. This week we had news that Simon Kinberg, the X-Men alum, is announced to have begun working on a Star Wars trilogy. Now, I'm not overly, I love the X-Men movies. I'm not overly hyped for this news because there has been so many times that they make an announcement like this, and yet nothing comes about it. We had news many years ago that the guys from the Game of Thrones series would be Benioff and Weiss.
Josh Trank.
Yeah. There has been countless times. What was that? The director of Wonder Woman, who's going to do that Rogue Squadron movie.
Oh, I remember this. I don't remember the director's name.
Patty Jenkins.
Right.
And that never happened. They even made a logo for it and everything, and a
Yeah.
little trailer bit that they played online when she was getting into an X-wing and
Oh, wow.
you
Okay.
know, yeah, it was gonna happen, and it just didn't.
What
right?
the heck?
Rangers of the New Republic.
Right.
I mean, like, there's been so many times in which we've had the news that something's going to come out, and
So what
then
you're
it just doesn't
saying
happen.
Is you feel a little burnt?
I'm just saying, don't get your hopes up. I mean, this is literally just like I'm reading the Variety.com article, so this is a legit news source, and it just says Simon Kinberg is preparing to visit a galaxy far, far away. It says Lucasfilm's developing a new Star Wars trilogy with Kinberg set to write and produce the 3 films.
Okay.
That's also the news that we got with Rian Johnson, who is also supposed to come and do a trilogy of films or a movie with Lucasfilm, and that news came out in like 2018. Where's that movie? Right.
That's true. Actually, we're closer to 10 years now on that one.
James Mangold, recent news, he's gonna come and do a Star Wars movie.
Right.
That's still supposed to happen. No details on that.
Right.
The Rey movie as well. That was also brought out at the Star Wars Celebration. They brought Daisy Ridley out on stage. They announced the director, all that stuff. That movie just lost its writer. So, you know, like, basically, like, this is cool news, but I'm also just like, take it with a grain of salt. Even though it's legit news, just be like, you know what? Cool. Let's just see what happens. Don't get your hopes up because the movie's not out yet. And anything can happen in between.
So I'm just looking through his IMDb and just looking at some of the stuff. It looks like he's mainly just been producing for a long time.
It says this film will begin a new series with new characters after The Rise of Skywalker, starring Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Adam Driver, Oscar Isaac, after the episode 9 Skywalker Saga in 2019. Plot details have not been revealed, and that is pretty much it. It says the forthcoming trilogy that Kinberg's movies will continue the story that George Lucas began with 77's A New Hope, and that is all. That there's really nothing else too much about it. Do you remember that hot moment for a hot minute? Taika Waititi was also supposed to produce a Star Wars movie.
I don't remember that.
That was also announced a few years ago. It says Lucasfilm's released several other Star Wars projects that have been in the works, such as James Mangold, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, Taika Waititi, and Donald Glover, the Lando series that we have still been waiting for like 10 years. Very ambiguous, but these some of these will be hitting this big screen at some point.
I'm starting to wonder.
Patty Jenkins, Kevin Feige. He was also announced to be a producer at one point.
Officially?
Yeah. Kevin Feige. They announced Kevin Feige would produce a Star Wars movie. Here's another one: Benioff and Weiss, the Game of Thrones guys, and none of these are coming to fruition. So like, I'm just saying, like, let's just wait and see. You know, if anything comes about this. I know it's big news, everybody, but you know, just chill. Kinberg is known for X-Men First Class, Days of Future Past, Deadpool, Logan, the original X-Men films, Dark Phoenix. I mean, he was pretty consistent through that whole universe.
He was involved in like all the X-Men stuff.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. That's always a fun movie.
Yeah, you're looking at his IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sure am.
Yeah, he was also attached to.
He was always a producer then.
Yeah, he's a producer. Yeah, he's like Kevin Feige. You know, he makes stuff happen, which ironically in the Star Wars world is very hard to do apparently. So you know, hopefully he makes something happen because. Yeah,
well, wait and see.
Okay, his second little tidbit here for the week, and then we'll wrap things up, is that, do you remember that Ahsoka story from Tales of the Jedi?
I do, yeah.
Do you remember the whole conversation about who that Inquisitor was?
Yes, because I remember it was didn't have the same continuity as the novel.
Right.
And so, because we had the Inquisitor's name in the novel, right?
Yeah, so... Who was he in the novel now? Was it the fifth? No, it wasn't the fifth brother. Hold on a second.
Gotta look it up.
Okay, so the Ahsoka novel, yeah, it was the sixth brother. Okay, so the sixth brother was the one that supposedly was featured in the Ahsoka novel. All right, this character, also known as Bill Valen, a member of the Inquisitorius, featured in the Darth Vader Dark Lord of the Sith comic books, then hunted down and tried to kill Ahsoka Tano during the uprising on Rada, which is the farm world, and Ahsoka ends up killing him, takes his kyber crystal from his lightsaber, or kyber crystals from his dual-bladed spinny lightsaber, and purifies them in the Force, and she makes her white lightsabers based on those crystals, right? Well, behind the scenes of the Tales of the Jedi animated short, the third one that featured Ahsoka, where she faces off the Inquisitor in that short, depicted that exact moment in the book very inaccurately, but to a certain extent that all of us who saw it and had read the book knew it to be the same event in Ahsoka's story.
Yeah.
Right? Behind the scenes, according to the Wikipedia page, as of this very moment, it says, according to Dave Filoni, the Star Wars Tales of the Jedi episode Resolve, which is what the episode's called, depicts the same events as the Ahsoka novel, which would logically make the first brother, which is, just hold on to that thought, featured within the sixth brother. All right. Now, it sounds confusing, but recently there was a source book that was revealed, or this book got launched or something like that. It's a book that basically depicted images of certain characters. This one is called Star Wars Encyclopedia, the Comprehensive Guide to the Star Wars Galaxy. Okay, so this book is very, very new. This launched November 7th in the UK. That was today officially as of this recording of the episode, but it released earlier elsewhere unofficially. Okay, so some people have already read this book, taken photos of it, posted it online. It's officially launching in the States as of November 19th. So this is news that technically is from a book that in some bookstores where they don't care about release dates, you can buy it, based on the size of the bookstore, but officially you might not be able to buy it until the 19th. So this is kind of, we got the scoop on this. But I saw a picture of someone's identified this page, which identifies the Inquisitor in the Tales of the Jedi short as the first brother, not the sixth brother, as we thought him to be. The Ahsoka novel depicts that guy as the sixth brother. Then the animated short translated that scene into an animated short, right? And now the visual dictionary depicts the sixth brother that showed up in the Ahsoka depiction of the novel as the first brother. You with me?
I am. It sounds like
the first brother and the sixth brother are the same character in a way.
To me, it just sounds like they renamed it by mistake because it didn't bother to look.
Yeah. It keeps saying on Wikipedia. However, numerous differences exist between the short and the novel. Additionally, upon seeing the trailer for the series, Johnson assumed that the Inquisitor was not the sixth brother featured in her novel. This is E.K. Johnson, the author. She assumed that when she saw Tales of the Jedi, that the sixth brother was not the one that she wrote about. The reference book Dark Side Pocket Expert, which is another supplement book that later included
the best book name, by the way.
Yeah. It later included information about the Tales of the Jedi appearance, but declared the sixth brother to have only appeared in novels and comics up to that point, logically meaning that he wasn't featured in the Tales of the Jedi episode, meaning that it depicts separate events. So it means that what this whole thing is trying to say. And here's another thing. The novel Inquisitor Rise of the Red Blade, which, did we read that together?
Yeah, I believe so.
So that was released after Tales of the Jedi and featured the sixth brother, but described him in a way that matched the Ahsoka novel and not the Tales of the Jedi episode. So it means that the books have all stayed continuity-wise the same. But then the appearance of the Tales of the Jedi episode is still kind of the one-off different thing. And weirdly enough, the events somewhat match the novel, right?
So basically there's two events now that are very similar.
And now that's exactly if you put all the pieces together, that's exactly what the story is. Yes. So now it is.
So Ahsoka has 4 white lightsabers?
No, because the Tales of the Jedi short never actually showed that, right? It's only in the book that she does that. But in the Tales of the Jedi episode, she just kills the guy, drops the saber, and that's it, right? And then Bail shows up. But I think because Bail shows up, and Bail also shows up in the book, people thought it was the same thing. So now the story goes, right? Ahsoka kills this Inquisitor.
6 or 1?
I think it would be 1 at this point. So the one from Tales of the Jedi. The book does not reference that moment. And then later she kills the sixth brother and then goes off with Bail afterwards. And the book never mentions that moment. Either that or for some, because I forget, I'm very vaguely remembering the book now. But if there was a time jump somewhere in the story of the book where she initially chats with Bail about joining the rebels and then later becomes fulcrum, it might be that the short fits in between some of those chapters. But in short, Ahsoka fights 2 Inquisitors now after the Purge. One is the sixth brother depicted in the Ahsoka novel. The other is the first brother depicted in Tales of the Jedi.
So I'm wondering, in the novel, the original novel, I feel like there was a lot of lead up because she hadn't done any combat. She wasn't sure what she was going to do, right? Because she was like...
She didn't have any lightsabers.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think she had done any sort of combat, or she was trying to figure out her way in life after leaving the Order. And I think she was just trying to make a simple life for herself. So I thought a big part of that novel was leading up to her still being a warrior. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that take away from that?
Yeah, and well, that's what I mean. Like it's so hard to like fit those pieces together in a way. But yeah, it does kind of take away from that a little bit, I think. But I don't know. I mean, like I feel like I need to reread the Ahsoka novel to try and make sense of this new information now. But it would have been nice if it was maybe a less of a similar moment, depicted in the Tales of the Jedi. I don't know if maybe Dave was inspired by, because he worked with the author, with E.K. Johnson to help that story with that character. And I don't know, maybe he was inspired to write his own story of a very similar event.
Do we know what planets they're both on?
So in the show, that's the thing. It's like we all made assumptions that was the same event, but
because it looks the same where they are. But if they don't actually say the names,
that's the thing, right?
Both are like farming planets.
Both are farming planets. In the book, it's Rada. In another book, it is in the Tales of the Jedi story. It's apparently somewhere else. So I don't know if this makes it better or worse, because like on the one hand, I'm kind of relieved at least the depiction of the animated thing is at least a different story now, right? Like it's not just an adaptation of the same thing like what we saw with the Kanan comic book origin story.
Right.
Completely different in the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something I was kind of peeved about. But at the same time, it's almost too similar to be a successful different story
Feels
at
like
the
a
same
Band-Aid,
time.
right?
Yeah, it does kind of feel like a Band-Aid. And I'm just a little confused. I'm just like, I would like a little bit more information on how this kind of came about, or if it was just like a fluke, or if it was just originally supposed to be a different thing and ended up turning out visually to like almost very similar to how it was in the book. Maybe that wasn't the intention. I don't really know.
I feel like only Dave Filoni can answer that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like I would love to ask him that question just out of genuine curiosity. Like, where do these events fit into place amongst Ahsoka's story now? And where, because I am genuinely curious, especially seeing as it involves Bail, right? Like in the short, he does show up and she says, oh yeah, maybe next time, kind of thing. But then in the novel, he is an ever-present character through her kind of eventually coming to terms with like, okay, this is something I have to do. This is something I have to be this fulcrum. I want to help the rebellion that's growing, on this secret scale kind of thing, and become this person that they need to do this thing, which she wasn't ready to do when he was approaching her earlier through the book. So that's why I feel like it's only Bail's presence and what she says to him, like, okay, yeah, maybe I'll join, but not right now or something. I forget how it wraps up, but it's not like Bail showing up at the end there really convinces her over to be fulcrum or something like that. It's not like it happens right then and there.
I felt like it was always the turn of events that now the Inquisitors are out, she can't run away and she can't leave them to fight these Dark Force users by themselves. Yeah,
that's the thing, right? But I think
she felt led by the Force.
Yes. Yeah. So it's cool. But yeah, just like another little piece of news that I heard this week that I was like, oh, okay, that's worth talking about. So anyway,
I don't know how to feel about that. I'm thinking I might wait and see if there's more information that arises.
Yeah. Our next book review at some point, we're going to go through John Jackson Miller's The Living Force. This is the author that wrote A New Dawn a number of years ago.
Quite a number of years ago,
yeah, 10 years ago. And
was that the last book?
I think that was the only one he's done so far. Well, in canon. So before he actually did the Kenobi book as well.
Oh, okay.
It was like that was one of the last EU books to come out, which was Kenobi, and then he did A New Dawn.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that's our next book review, and I will be starting that soon.
Sounds like a plan. Cool.
Yeah. All right. So thank you everybody for tuning in.
And apologies about misleading about Lego Star Wars. We'll get to that next week.
Yeah, that's right. But we're glad you stayed listening this far. Very, very chill episode this week. So, biding our time until Skeleton Crew, I guess. But okay. Any last minute things to bring up, or you good to go?
Just I gotta figure out how to get copy of the Queen's Gambit, man.
Yeah, I got to pay that $1,400.
I gotta figure. Maybe I'll make my own version out of cardboard, printer paper.
Yeah. Although, to any hero out there who might be able to add on a Steam Workshop expansion to Tabletop Simulator, I haven't checked there, but maybe it's a game on there that you can grab that. We'll have to find out.
I'd be impressed if that was on there.
Yeah, we'll take a look.
It's pretty obscure.
All right, everybody. Links will be down in the description below for all things that we talked about today. And thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Kirk. And we'll see you in the next one.
See you out there. Keep flying.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, as always. So check out the links in the description. Big thank you for tuning in this week. Make sure you share the show with a friend and interact with if you're listening on Spotify, we love 5 stars. Hit up the poll down below or the FAQ section. What's coming next, and stay tuned with our social feeds for the weekly or daily updates. I mean, the Twitter's quite active. The X account. You can find us on there with the handle at SW Escape Podcast, and you can use the same handle on YouTube to subscribe there. Hit that bell icon so that you don't miss a week where we publish an episode. Send a reply on Swell. The link is down below. Our email is swescapepodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you send us your 2 cents. What's your favorite Star Wars board game? Is there any vintage board games that you have? Maybe send us a picture of your setup if you're playing the game anytime soon. We'd love to see how that goes, and let us know your favorite. What's the best recent Star Wars game that's come out that you like the most? Go check out Orbit Key, stickers by East Post Media, Kai Sabers, all that stuff down below. Join the Discord. 5 stars helps us out, and we will see you in the next episode of Star Wars Escape Pod. May the Force be with you.